What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Spill the Tequila here on the soon-to-be John Rocha channel. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hanging out with us.
You switching it up, boy?
I am switching it up. Yes, starting Thursday, it will officially be the John Rocha channel. The Outlaw Nation is going away. It will still be the John, but it was time to make the move. I had a few people suggested to me that we could you probably Outlaw is kind of maybe a little bit out of date now, so we're making the moves. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens. So but we are here still on the Outlaw Nation for this episode of Spill the Tequila. I am John Rocha. That is the king of swag himself, Winston A. Marshall, and we did miss last week, Winston, so it's great to see you. How you doing? How are things?
Good, man. I am I just took my last vacation of the year.
Okay.
I am going to Dallas next week to visit my dad. He's getting up there.
Yeah.
So I just need to check on him. But other than that, I'm here. I went to Palm Springs for the 4th. That's normally when we go. We kind of fluctuate depending on everybody's schedule. But it's been good, man. I came back, did a nice long stream yesterday. So shout out to anybody that was in there. Actually debated about you, my friend, for a little bit. Yeah.
What was the debate about? Me?
Well,
why am I coming up on you?
Someone was saying you were just ripping James Gunn a new asshole. And I was just curious as to what it was. And I guess the person specifically, I don't remember. I believe their handle was just X. They were specifically saying that I guess you were upset based off of like his old tweets and stuff like that.
No, old tweets. His 10-year-old tweets.
The one that was the main thing they were pushing was like, oh, so we're just supporting people that make child predator jokes and rape jokes and blah blah blah. And I was like, I feel like Rocha's known about that, and if he's really complaining about that, then he and him will have a nice little debate tomorrow of like, we already went through this. So, like, I'm curious why we're going back down this path.
No, this is what happens sometimes on streams is that people like create a narrative and they fabricate something because their minds just landed on what they think someone said, and then they just put it out there. Jamel Hill went through this recently with Stephen A. Smith, right? He was on this right-wing podcast. Stephen A. Smith was asked about Jamel Hill supposedly saying that if Angel Reese keeps going how she's going to be the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. She never said that. And that right-wing podcast didn't check their sources, and Stephen A. just believed this person, and they went on in this whole thing about it. And Jamel's like, I never said it. What are you talking about? So that's a fake quote.
That's funny. And so, like, to that point, like, I was just like, look, I know John well enough, and if that's legitimately his stance right now.
Yeah, it's weird.
Fortunately, I do the show with him tomorrow. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna ask some questions because I'm like,
I'm gonna ask homie.
I'm gonna be like, bruh, do you not remember we were talking about this? Like a lot of days we were talking about that shit. Talking about, we got fired. Should have been fired. I feel like MAGA just pulled a ripcord. So like it became like a whole thing about that. And I was just like, because then they were like, oh, so you just, whatever. James, the person said to me, they're like, well, James Gunn will certainly hire your ass now. And I was like, it isn't about hiring anybody. It's a scenario of, the big difference between, say, James Gunn and Gina Carano. James Gunn, when confronted with it, was like, this was not cool. I did it at this time. It's not an excuse. I'm sorry about it. And moved on and has not done that same shit since. Whereas Gina Carano doubled, tripled, quadrupled down. Those are the big differences between when people do stuff like that. That's why I get up Nick Bosa's ass, because he had all that racist shit and then continues to be a racist prick in various little scenarios. So he don't get no pass from me because he's not showing that he's actually growing as a person. The same thing could be said, and I love how we already got in the middle of a topic. The same thing could be said about like Michael Vick. If Michael Vick had got out of prison after the dog stuff and then continued to be a piece of shit, that's a different story. What pisses me off is that people cannot look at the fact that both A, he served his time, and B, has been the biggest advocate to prevent Black and brown communities from continuing to abuse. And he is at the forefront of stopping that shit. So either we believe in the idea of people growing and getting better and giving them the space to do that, or we don't. But I need people to miss me with that shit one way or the other. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, brother. I just want to assure you, I never had an issue with any of that stuff. I think someone took someone I said on the Christian Harloff show where I had compared, because Christian was like, well, I mean, you go after these people, and I go, but I go after people equally. Like I feel like I'm across the board, right? And I said, look, I went after Bryan Singer at Collider, which got me in trouble because they were like, oh my God, don't say that. And it was because he did this terrible shit. And I was like, I'm not comparing James Gunn's current comments on interviews about Superman to that, but I'm saying I'm not afraid to go after people in the industry because I don't care about connections and all of that. So it's not really my jam. I don't live in LA. It doesn't affect my life in any way, shape, or form if I'm connected or anything. So I think maybe someone took that and meant when James did that stuff, it was comparable to Bryan Singer's accusations. Maybe they correlated those two, even though I stressed very clearly that I was not comparing their actions. I just meant that I didn't have a fear of going after people, even if they were currently the flavor of the month.
So let me ask, because obviously you do like you're harder working than fucking Ryan Seacrest, bro. You do like 20 shows a day. What specifically then were you upset about? Because I did see you out of the theater reaction. It sounds like you really enjoyed the movie, but it sounds like you had an issue with you have an issue with the marketing.
Well, I have an issue with James Gunn's rollout of the film, and for that I mean that he has made himself the focal point of the PR campaign. Okay, and so for me, I found that to be a little bit egotistical, and so I called that out. And because I feel like Corn Sweat is the lead, Nicholas Hoult is the co-lead, Rachel Brosnahan is the co-lead. Nicholas Holt's well known, Brosnahan's pretty well known, Corn Sweat not so much. So I think those three people should have been at the forefront in numerous interviews, doing a Rolling Stone interview, doing all this kind of stuff.
And they weren't.
I felt like, and they weren't. And I felt like James and that 4-picture black and white Rolling Stone thing, like all of that was kissing his ass. And to me, I felt like you're making this about you and not about the movie and not about the actors who were in the movie. So that was my issues that I was having over the last few weeks.
Honestly. I can understand that. I would personally disagree in the sense that when you think about trying to sell movies, there's like, you have an actor, even if the actor's like fantastic in it, they will a lot of times be like, you know, from the producers that brought you so-and-so, or the director of blah, blah. Like, it feels like in this case, since James Gunn is by far and away the biggest star out of everybody involved in this, and it's the kickoff for the universe, and so that being almost under his umbrella, I could see that. If he does that every project going forward, we need to have a complete. Now I'm on your page, but I think knowing that he wrote, directed this, and is the head of the studio, if that's what he wants to do for this, I could see. If I think if Corn Sweat was a bigger actor, because this movie is Superman, obviously Lois Lane is important, Lex Luthor is important, but if David Corn Sweat was already a bigger star, I think I would be on the same page as you. Because he's not there yet, this is his coming out party, it actually makes a little more sense to me to put James at the forefront. But that's just my 2 cents. Now that I know, I was like, I sometimes get mad at Rocha, but not like this. Like, there's no way he's doing that. And so this person kept going. I was like, all right, man, you could argue with your mama, but all I know is I'm still here.
I can't believe. And the thing is, I don't think I've gotten one message from anyone named X about anything, but he's gonna go on your stream and go upset,
bro. For half a second, I was like, there's no way that Rocha went full Kevin Durant and made a burner and is just arguing with me on my stream when he knows he could just literally hit me up and I'd be like, let me just let him in or call me or something. There was no way.
That didn't stop Kalinowski yesterday when he called me out on Twitter, and I was like, bitch, you have my phone number. You can text me. You got to call me out on Twitter. We got to do this in public. But I love Michael. I know Michael's passionate, so I'm never going to fault Kalinowski for that kind of stuff. But like, I was like, you have my number, Kalinowski.
I think what the argument is at the end of the day, and truthfully, because it's funny, you're right. He does have your number. He could have called you. I think where that probably came from is a lot of the same. I don't know why I always bring it back to Caitlyn and Angel, but it's easier to do that because that was something that was at the forefront and everybody kind of understands. I think it's when you see the amount of pure hate, whether it be Snyder Bros pissed off that the Snyderverse is gone, whether it be Fox News being like, they said it's an immigrant story. Stop trying to force it. Like, did you see the Fox News shit where they were talking about, I heard the back of his cape says MS-13. No.
Giggle, giggle, snicker, snicker. Yeah, I did.
The most unfunny people on the planet, bro. It's like the saddest shit ever that they are the most unfunny people.
They have to find something. This is the thing. The right wing has to find something to be upset about. They have to constantly create scenarios in order to keep people. They are a content creator. Fox News is a content creator. It is not a news organization. It is a content creator, kind of like, and they've given the blueprint to all those anti-woke YouTube channels that you saw pop up over the last few years. They follow Fox News's blueprint. Find whatever the hell we can construe to be offensive or woke. We will concoct it out of thin air in order to get people to watch our stuff and engage in our stuff so we can make money off that stuff. It's all a grift. It's all a grift. And so the same thing, and the fact that they're acting like they're surprised. Zack Snyder literally told the immigrant story in Man of Steel. It was absolutely, that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. It is absolutely an immigrant story. It's very blatantly an immigrant story, dealing with what it would be like to have someone who is an alien go in the Midwest that is predominantly leaning one direction politically, and how they would react to it, how the government would be nervous, like we're seeing now, about immigrants and whatever. So it was very clear what it was. This is not that much. This is not really this movie. I can say I'm not gonna spoil the movie, but it doesn't in any way, shape, or form lean into it in the way that Man of Steel did. It's not taking anything away from the movie, but it is an element of the film for sure.
Sure.
So to me, I thought this was a ridiculous thing for people to be upset about.
It was just so funny because I was like, do you know what Superman's origin story is, my guy? He is not a citizen of this planet. He was randomly thrust here by his parents because they were like, there is literally no life. It is too dangerous for you to stay here. So we're going to ship you off as a refugee to another planet, and hopefully they will take care of you and take you in as your own. And then he was raised as one of us. Lord knows Mom, Pa can't probably broke. I saw someone tweet this, broke so many damn laws for him to have to forge papers for this dude, for him to do that. That's literally an immigrant story, a refugee story. And you go, the level of stupidity that we have hit is Super Saiyan God levels, okay? Are just insane how dumb we have gotten, that people legitimately are going to sit there and say those things, because the same thing was true with Ironheart. How you go say, she's a criminal, she killed someone. Tony was a weapons dealer. He used to have people killed by the thousands. And then when he showed back up...
Wait a minute. I don't think he had people killed. People died.
Well, but specifically his missiles did that. But when I take that a step further, he then makes his Mark II armor, goes back to the town where he was kidnapped, and murders left and right. People thought that the little missile he shot into the tank, they just got a little tickle in there. They were just in there just getting tickled by just all these little feathers. Oh my God, I can't shoot a tank anymore. Whoa.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
There's my rant.
There you go. You got it out. He said,
not really. Fire Nico. Okay. There's that too. How about that? Fire Nico Harrison.
Fire Nico Harrison. I thought you said Finding Nemo. It's like, what?
No. Fire Nico.
Yeah, no. The thing is, and some people commented today, and it was really nice. Like my out of theater reaction, I'm very happy about. It's almost at 70,000 views, which is really nice. I never.
Damn it! I needed to get to a press one and not the one I'm going to today.
I never get that kind of. Of course, Christian, who likes to keep me under his thumb, was like, "Well, you're lucky I didn't put mine out first, because mine would have totally buried yours." And it's a ball busting thing that he loves to do. But who knows? Either way, I'm very happy that that it did what it did. But like a lot of people were like, "I'm so glad you put aside your James Gunn hate." And the thing is, it's not hate. It's just calling things out from my point of view. And I felt like he was making it too much about him. Now, and I said this a number of times, it's not going to affect how I see the movie, because it can separate the both. You know, there are a lot of asshole directors through the history of film who still make great movies. Charlie Chaplin was an a-hole. John Ford was an a-hole. Alfred Hitchcock was an a-hole, and a leery a-hole at that. So like there's a lot of the history of Hollywood of directors who maybe weren't the best, or gave the best interviews, or were egotistical. Lord knows you need that to succeed in this business. So calling it out is calling it out. But I never said anything about the man personal. Some people said it was personal. I'm like, I didn't talk about the man's family, his wife, his extended family. I didn't say anything. It was just that some of the comments he was making made it clear to me that he's got a very healthy opinion of himself. And he may be overshadowing the film are these actors. But after seeing the film now, as you said, now with the context of the movie, I think Corn Sweat is going to be a name people are talking about for a long time. Brosnahan made the leap. Nicholas Hoult made the leap as well. And so I think when the sequel comes out, because this is going to blow up at the box office, I have just no doubt now. I hope the next PR campaign for the next film with Superman will be much more about them coming front and center and less about James Gunn coming front and center. And what have you.
I'm sure.
I get your point that he had to sell it. I just wish he balanced that a little bit more with the other actors. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was like, I'm sure he will in the future. I just think, again, part of it was, his studio. Not like, even though Rachel Brosnahan and Nicholas Hoult have been working for a while, I wouldn't consider them A-listers until probably this movie. This will probably do the thing that pushes them over the edge. Probably. You know what I'm saying? This will make Corn Sweat an automatic A-lister, especially if the character sticks around. If somehow, which I doubt it, this is somehow a one and done, we're having a different conversation. But considering that means he will be the face of Superman for a while, he will jump to A-list status, and James Gunn will not need to be at the forefront of anything like that. The reason,
go ahead.
Well, the other thing I was going to say, because if you think about it, there wasn't a full game plan yet for the MCU when Iron Man came out. And it was one of those things where it's like you led kind of with Robert Downey Jr. and then with Favreau. This was kind of the kind of
Feige. You leaned with those two.
But Feige also was not a name. Like, if we're being real, he was not a household name. James Gunn is a household name, is the only other thing, which is why I don't have a problem with it. If this was like a first-time director be like, yeah, baby, I'm James Gunn. I did all this shit. What you know about that? Now I'm like, who are you and what are you doing? But in this case, you lead with your biggest star.
Yeah, but Ryan Coogler wasn't a household name. Fruitvale Station, like 12 people saw that movie. So, I mean, like, it was not fantastic. Like, and he got, of course it is, great quality. But he got to the front of the Black Panther conversation, right? And he took the reins and he made it and all of that. It wasn't Chadwick. It wasn't anyone else. I
disagree.
It was him. It was him who was front. But I'm saying it does happen. There's a way to do it. And I think the way he did it was much more respectful, and it wasn't about Ryan Coogler. It was about Black Panther and the actors. And I think a little bit James slid into his own ass kissing, and then him saying like, oh, the film doesn't need to make $700 million to be a success. I thought was you're kind of under promising to over deliver here. And I think you do have to make $700 million. I think absolutely you have to make $700 million.
You do and you don't. I guess why you don't is what's the final budget? What was the final budget?
Probably, well, if you add marketing, it's probably somewhere closer to 250 to 300. So you've got to make 7 to see profit, the real profit. So
to see real profit, but what you need enough is the
budget.
You need enough. I think you're right. He's hedging his bet in that he is aware of how crowded everything is, because I'm sure this interview happened in the middle of stupid Jurassic World getting 350 or whatever the hell it did its opening weekend, which doesn't make sense. And you have Fantastic Four nipping at your heels. So I can understand him hedging the bet of like, yo, bro, if we clear 650, if we clear 600, like I would prefer we clear 7, 8, $1 billion. But if we clear 6, then clearly there's enough thirst for this that we can move forward. There is definitely a tier of, hey man, we won the game at a buzzer beater. Hey man, we won the game by 7, and yo, we had a blowout. Like, obviously he wants a blowout, but if they get it at the buzzer beater, that's enough to at least continue. That is the argument I would make. But Warner Brothers needs this to be a blowout.
That's probably a great point. That it's more that Warner Brothers needs this to be an $800 million to $1 billion movie because of the egg on their face with DC stuff before. And look, both Superman Returns and Man of Steel underperformed as the most recent recent Superman movies. And so you kind of want this one to knock it out of the park financially so that you're sure that the public wants to continue this James Gunn universe. And so, I get, James saying, but like, to me, you got to be honest. You know what WB wants. You know what Zaslav wants. So you can say it doesn't have to do this, but it does have to do this. And so I think it's a little where at times he gets a little disingenuous. That's what I call out when I'm upset.
I still hear you. I would be a little worried about, because I'm just thinking it from like a PR standpoint. If the leader of everything, not just this movie, but the leader of everything is like, this has to clear 750 million. Like that actually sends less of a vote of confidence because now there's a desperation. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So I think it gives off the air of, no, man, look, we made a good ass movie. We think people are going to like it. Of course we want it to clear 700, but it doesn't have to. We just need people to go and see the film. That is more the how you would want to answer that question.
I would tweak it a little bit. And I would just say,
what would you say?
I would just say, we're just focusing. We feel we've made a great movie, and we hope a lot of people come out to see it. The box office will be what the box office will be, but we just are proud of this movie. So you're not even addressing the fact that it's the 700 million. Like, but he said it was nonsense. The fact that he called it out as nonsense, I think it's a combative approach. And you don't have to take a combative approach. And I know that John Rocha is saying that, but you don't have to take it.
That's actually very funny to me. And I clocked that. I was like, I know you not talking, bitch. But
if I'm in the studio, I'm not going to be combative. Let me just tell you, you've got to eat your pride a little bit.
No, for sure. But all that being said, I'm very much looking forward to it. My showing is at 7 o'clock my time. So how long? What's the runtime?
2 hours. And there's 2 post-credit scenes. So you want to stick around.
Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
So then y'all can expect, like I've already cut my thumbnail.
Oh,
so
nice.
And I'm gonna pre-write the description.
Wait, what do you mean? You already cut do you take like
I take a holy shit. I take a bitch. Like I take 3 of those photos. I make 3 thumbnails and I bring them with me. And depending on how I feel, then I just post that one up. So because the one thing I did learn from Christian, and I will give him a lot of credit for these out of the theater reactions, it 1,000% is speed. So the faster you can get it out, the better. And if I can already have an eye-catching thumbnail, I have it in the chamber. So it's just record my reaction, get it out.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. I always edit mine because I just will keep recording until I'm happy with it. Sure. And then I come home. But I hear you. Yeah. I try to get it out within 30 to 45 minutes of leaving the theater.
Yeah.
Because the theaters are close to my house, so I can get to home in time to edit. But you're right. Speed. Christian's right. Speed is the thing there. So that's why as soon as I was done with Superman, because it's 10 minutes away, the theater, I was immediately home and it was up in 15 minutes. And I was like, I got it.
There you go.
So, yeah. Anyway, so we're 20 almost 25 minutes into the show. Thank you all so much for joining us. I apologize we started late. I got my wires crossed and I thought we were doing 4:30 to 6, but I know we do 4 to 5:30, but it'd been a week, so I just kind of forgot. So my apologies, y'all. But the Streamlabs and Super Chats are open if you guys want to send in some love as we go along here. We are going to be done by 5:30, around 5:30. I know Winston's got to get to that screening and get ready for that and all that. So we also, if you want us to answer any questions for you, please feel free to send the stuff in. But let's finish up the Superman conversation by saying, what are your thoughts as you see all the reactions and a lot of positive reviews? I think it's at 87
last I checked.
86,
87 now. Great.
It was 91. Then the Brits weighed in and it drove it down to 86, but it might have gone up. Let me take a look. But what do you think? Either way, upper 80s to 90s is a really good Rotten Tomatoes score for the start of this thing. Do you think this bodes well for the movie overall? Because I saw some people saying now that they've adjusted the predictions that it might be a $230 million opening weekend. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That would be fantastic. I mean, I think that's great because what I then am curious about, I mean, Gunn, looking at this, didn't do as hot with Brightburn. He was a producer on that, but like Guardians 3, 82, Holiday Special 94, Suicide Squad 90.
Yes.
Let's see, Guardians 2, 85.
Yes.
Guardians 192. So like he for the most part, he did movie 43. Oh Lord, I didn't know that.
That was another time, I think.
That was another time, my guy. But for the most part, he hasn't missed since he really kind of hit his stride. And so I have good faith in that one way or the other. I think one great superhero movie or not. Yeah. The genre itself has hit such a particular place. There are going to be people that no matter what are going to hate on this. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting it to be 100, but what I was expecting to be, he is very good at world building. He is very, very good at world building. So what I wanted to see out of this movie was show me what this universe looks like. Show me what, but I need him to always focus. Put on that close up lens of great. Here's what the DC universe kind of looks like, but here's specifically what Metropolis looks like. But here's specifically what Superman looks like. I don't mind if you're building all this out, but I need to focus on who is the title of the movie. And sometimes that can be a problem that happens when you've got too much world to build. But based off of everything I've heard, it sounds like they have to do the setup, but once we're in, is what I've heard, and that's what I'm hoping for. It's
very much, and I'll say this because my review's up on the channel, and so is my out of theater reaction, and it is a comic book lovers movie, and I love that. It is absolutely. So I will say this: there's not a lot of backstory with a lot of the characters. And so if you have your own history you're bringing in from the comic books, that's going to help you appreciate the movie even more. It doesn't mean you have to, all right? I'm going to make it clear. It doesn't mean you have to, because I think the film works even if you don't. But if you do, it allows you to kind of really just settle in and enjoy what you're getting. Because there is some wacky stuff in the movie. There is some way out there stuff in the movie, but there's also a lot of real grounded emotional relationships and storylines being told in the movie. And I think that's what keeps it from flying off into wacky land. And that's important to have the balance. And the thing is, and you're right to bring up his scores. Let's bring it up real quick. This is a pretty good run here. If you factor in also the TV stuff like Creature Commandos, I Am Groot, the Holiday Special, and Peacemaker, this is a nice run that James has been on with the fans and the critics overall. So yes, it says 91% up top there. Winston is right. It's down to 86% now, which is still not fucking bad for what it is. So that's the phenomenal stuff that you see there, that James clearly has the secret formula for these kinds of superhero movies, and they do work in his style. And I said this in my review that he is, I wouldn't say auteur, but I would say auteur adjacent or auteur-ish, because he has a very clear vision, and when you're watching a James Gunn movie. And so this is another example of that here in Superman. So yeah, I'll be curious to see what you think. And
like I said, I'll have my out of the theater up pretty ASAP. And then my aim was to get the non-spoiler out for the next day, and the spoiler probably Friday. So
yeah, I might do a small spoiler one, because we're going to do a Geek Buddies one live at some point over the weekend or on Monday. When those guys are seeing, those guys are seeing it tonight, just like you are. So the boys are seeing it tonight. So who knows?
It's always weird watching all your friends, everybody out at the party. And you're like, bitch, why I gotta go late? Roxy and the Rejects all out there. We know Coy's ass working for DC. Probably seen that shit like a month ago.
30 times, probably. Yeah.
You got to go yesterday. Christian went this morning. I'm just like, I gotta go to sleep at machine.
But even Christian was mad that he had to wait as long as he had to wait for the thing, because he thought, he wanted to be in there as soon as possible, like everybody else. But there's been a changeover with people who are taking over for the publicity at Marvel, and I think that maybe affected his invitation. But yeah, he's not used to being the guy's odd man out on these kinds of things. So I hear you. All right, well, let's move on to some other stuff going on in the world of entertainment. We got to talk about this, Winston, because it is Spill the Tequila. And speaking of Spill the Tequila, we got ourselves a new song from Drake, a new diss track. This is so interesting because it's kind of but it has nowhere near the fanfare that the release of the songs got in terms of when the war was going on between him and Kendrick Lamar. What did you think about What Did I Miss? What did you think about the lyrics here? It seems like he was going after Future, going after LeBron, going after any fans who took Kendrick Lamar's side in all of this. He's walking out in the music video amongst a bunch of rifles laid around on the ground, talking about whipping around on 600 acres, talking about ice pack, like bringing up Chili from TLC. Like there was so much in these lyrics. What did you think of this as a comeback song from Drake, basically saying, bitch, I don't need anybody, and don't come asking for favors anymore?
I mean, the funny thing is, if I'm just being fully honest, I saw Drake drops a new diss track, and I was like, I'm good. And so I haven't heard it. I've heard a few bars where you had the diehard Drake stans be like, bro, yo, this line just went over your head talking about, yo, I hit you with a jab and you're gonna need a chili ice pack for your left eye. And I'm like, that didn't go over anything. Because someone tried to be like, bro, he said everybody in TLC. Nigga, what about T-Boz? He did not. He did not say everybody in TLC. He said true. 2 out of the 3. So it is what it is. I find it funny because this is what he should have been doing in the first place. If he was if he's going to go back, be quiet, drop a disc, not throw out a lawsuit. It's very hard for me to personally take him seriously because you decided to partake in a brawl, then you went to go call mommy when it didn't go your way, and now you want to come back out on the block and pretend like we can have recess again. That's and be hard to be like, hey, ain't nothing changed, man. You know I'm out here, and that's the only thing that bothers me. If he had put out some bars that was a situation of like, okay, we've never heard bars like this before in our lifetime. This is crazy. And we know for a fact he didn't potentially have it ghost written. Yeah. Okay, but there's still, I guess, the bad taste in my mouth from the lawsuit. I don't. Yeah, I will eventually listen to it, but
I mean, you can lose a battle, right? Like people respect that because people lose battles. It's life. You lose a battle sometimes in life, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a rap battle. It could be any kind of battle. Sometimes you lose. So people have sympathy for the losers sometimes. You know, I've seen, like I was watching the documentary once upon that When We Were Kings about Muhammad Ali and how George Plimpton said, like, I felt so much sympathy for the loser in a heavyweight boxing match because, like, it's such a titanic struggle between 2 massive men and one of them has to lose. And you just feel sympathy for the loser because they're such a titan of the game. The same thing here. Like, okay, you could have felt sympathy for Drake, but the thing is, when he sued the record company, that was it. That was like, that's the moment where you kind of bitched out, and people don't respect that. Like, you got to take your lumps and move on. But it kind of added to the feeling people have about Drake is that he's a little bit of a manufactured thing and he's not as tough as he claims. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying it added to that.
Sure.
And certainly that, and you brought it up earlier, that's an element of this here.
It's because I think the funny thing about it, man, there was this level of when we would look at him when he first dropped, we were like, okay, yeah, you know, he do be singing on the track sometimes. He's a little more in touch with his feels, blah, blah, blah. I think if he had kind of just stuck to doing his thing and not constantly feel like he would at times jump on bandwagons to stay hot, then like dip off them or things like that, I don't think he would have necessarily been gone at that hard, because how is it that all these people that you had collaborated with for so long all felt some type of way? You know what I'm saying?
And then when they had the opportunity, they took it to kind of make fun of you or come after you. Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, you made the decision to go scorched earth with LeBron. Even if you were upset with LeBron, you decided to sit here and be like, well, hey, man, you know, you all smiles and funs and game with Savannah then, but what about them times you were all cheating on your wife? Why would you do that? You took it to such a more ridiculous place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, the part about it I think that makes me sad is that because I was a big Drake fan. And I, to that point,
Headlines is still an effing banger, man. Headlines is a great effing song. Go ahead, sorry.
There's still so many of his songs that I couldn't listen to him for a minute because I was just like, nah, you a bitch. Like, this went sideways, man. I can't do it. I've since been able to calm back down. I don't really feel the impetus to listen to any new stuff, but kind of the same way that I feel about Kanye. With Kanye, for example, with that old stuff, I bought all those. Yeah. So I'm not technically racking up his streaming numbers. That's all offline shit. Right. So for me, I don't have a problem playing old stuff but the stuff that I like was stuck to my ribs. Like that, like changed me as a person. But I cannot listen to a single thing he says now or a single song he puts out. None of that. F him forever and all that stuff. So
you mean Kanye?
Kanye. But with Drake specifically, like the way that I end up feeling about it is, I think why I related to Drake so much growing up is like I've always been a little bit more of like a sensitive dude. Like I was the dude that was into anime and video games and all that. So like when I would get around some other black folk, they'd be like, this soft motherfucker, oh, you white boy, oh, whatever. There is a level of that's where I could, there's a level at which I could relate to Drake in that regard. But the difference is, as I grew up, I was able to still be myself. And someone will say something like that to me now, and I'm like, and what are you doing with your life? Like, I am strong enough in my own conviction that I don't need to bend the knee to people that want to try and count me out of not being black enough or not being whatever enough. You know what I'm saying? And in this case, instead of standing true to himself, he felt like he crumbled. Because another example of somebody like that, which is why he's one of my favorite rappers ever, is on my Rushmore, I don't think he'll ever leave, is Donald Glover, is a Childish Gambino. He leaned into his nerdiness and still was like, here's some of the hood stuff about, but he never tried to pretend to be 21 Savage, but he did a song with 21 Savage. Like he never pretended to try and be Nipsey Hussle, but he was enough of himself to go do songs with Nipsey Hussle. The problem with Drake is it felt like he was being too much of a chameleon instead of being true to himself. So when people finally called him out about that, he allowed himself to turn into essentially the Karen of hip hop. Instead of just being like, nah, that's just our dude that, like, you know, he be singing sometimes. He a little bitch sometimes, but he cool. If he had just chilled out about all this, I think it would have been different. But it's clear he has been pissing people off for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People waited for the moment, and when the moment arrived, and as soon as it was they saw other people jumping on the moment, they jumped on them. Now it's safe. Now I'm going to complain about it, and now I'm going to get involved in it. And that's the thing that you saw here. And so you're right. It seems clearly like that. There was a bunch of bodies in his wake, and they were just waiting, and they were working with him because they had to work with him, or they felt like, well, you know, I need to get to where I need to get to, so I'll just bite my tongue and do it. Because he called out a lot of people in it. The pop out stuff in the song. Look, it's not a bad song. I will say this on its own as a rap. It's not a bad song. I like the beat. I like the style of it and everything like that. But the content of it feels very victim-y. And I don't think that you want to go the victim route. How did I miss that? How did I miss this? How did I miss me helping you? I was helping you out. Why'd you turn on me? Why are you being a traitor? I did all this for you. That's victimhood, man. And I think there was a harder return he could have come with, where it isn't even bitching about being a victim and all of that. It's more about like you just moving on and doing your thing. And I just think that wasn't the best. I mean, you know what? I've never been a rap beef. God knows anyway. I have any kind of advice that makes sense, but I just feel like this wasn't the best way to come back overall. And like the fact that it wasn't even that big of a deal, and yeah, it's had some articles, but it nowhere near what Kendrick got for his final salvo against Drake. So
and real quick, somebody said, you know, Drake never directly himself said in a diss song that LeBron cheated. No, you're right, but he was running his mouth about shit, but two, essentially his puppet Academics is, you know, his favorite little pet was out here saying that it for him and showing DMs from Drake about that. So again, if not from him directly, the people directly associated with him were out here throwing out these allegations, which again, it is a well-known, well-kept secret that LeBron has a set deal where there are plenty of women that are married to athletes that have the same thing. Look, do what you're gonna do, but don't you fucking embarrass me. Don't you have no extra child. Don't you come back with no disease. Don't let that shit hit the news. Don't want to hear no blackmail shit, no nothing. If I hear a goddamn thing, I am going nuclear. But do not embarrass me. And so in the same way, it may not have been for LeBron having to deal with something. It may not have been Drake directly, but if Drake is telling his little best friend that nobody likes in the first place and he's running his mouth, that is embarrassing me. You know what I'm saying? So like he may not have been the one to pull the trigger, but people associated with him set all this whole thing up, man. So
that's the thing. People think athletes live like they do. A lot of athletes have no concept of living like you do. They are like normal people do, right? Because they don't live a normal life. And for people to expect them to live a normal life when they've never had a normal existence, I think is an exercise in futility. Quite a few athletes have a deal, shall we say, with their significant others. And I'm like, Jordan was well known with the rumors that he had a woman in every town. I don't know how much.
Used to buy damn apartments. He would pay for apartments.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had a woman, like Jordan too. He had a woman in every town, and he was paying for their apartments and they were on as beck and call allegedly whenever he showed up in a town.
All allegedly,
right? Allegedly. I don't want to get
all of it's alleged. But yeah, no, Shaq was the alleged was okay. Here's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna pay for this apartment. I don't like staying in hotels, so that way I can come and stay here, and I can come get some pussy if I want to. But then you're gonna worry about nothing. But I better not when I show up. You better be ready. That's all I know. Ain't gonna be no I can't come in the house.
You want some Epstein ink cartridges? You want some Papa John's? Yeah. That's why when Kobe outed him in the rape trial, like that was in the interrogation. That's a violation of the bro code in the NBA. Like a lot of people were more pissed that Kobe did that than they were that Shaq was cheating on his wife. Like more people were mad about that because that's the code you don't break.
Accidentally dived down Nick Young against his alien, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, Nick. Oh, Nick was a mess, man. Did you see him on the basketball podcast going at it with DeMarcus Cousins and Kenyon Martin? That is hilarious.
I did not see that.
God. Yeah, DeMarcus was mad because he's like, you guys, because Nick Young was saying they never prepared for Sacramento. He's like, you prepared for me. I know you prepared for me. I know you had a scouting report. He goes, man, we didn't have no scouting report on it. We just Sac's coming to town. All right, cool. We're getting a W. Like nobody cared about you, man. It was hilarious. DeMarcus was so effing mad. It was brilliant.
I would be too. This whole time you thought, and they were like, nah, bro. We were like, I guess, whatever. I heard there's a lot of cows up there. Maybe we get some good beef. I don't know. Like,
ain't nobody prepping for Sacramento. That was genius, man. Anyway, sorry, you were gonna say, what were you gonna say there? Anything?
No. That's pretty much it. As far as the diss track goes, I haven't had a chance to listen yet. I guess I will go and listen, but mainly because all it took was one person's putting that one line. This went over all y'all's heads, and I was like, no, it didn't. It really didn't. Like it went right into my head, and I said, okay. Like
you're like, I don't need that in there. Get it out of me.
Oh man.
Well, let's move on to something you've been talking about on your channel, Winston, for quite some time. The Diddy trial. It is officially over. He has been found not guilty on all the bigger charges, including the racketeering stuff, which apparently was the fifth charge that they were debating over, the jury, which almost led to a hung jury. And in the end, he was convicted of 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. They could carry 20 years each count, but the prosecutors.
I thought it was 10 each. It's 20 each.
No, 20. I guess 20 total. I guess 10 each. Yeah. So, but the prosecutors are only asking for, I think, 4 to 5 years per count, or 4 to 5 years total, which is insane. And the judge today has set the hearing for October 3rd to decide sentencing. So,
and he's out on bail right now, right?
No, they denied the bail. He's still in jail.
Oh, he's still in jail.
The judge said, because you admitted that you engaged in a pattern of domestic violence, I can't let you out of jail because I can't trust that you're not going to hurt people involved in the case.
Good for the judge on that one, man.
I agree. Good for the judge. So what do you think about, were you surprised by the verdict? And what do you think is going to happen here? Does he see a day in jail? Does he eventually, do they say time served and let him go? What do you think is going to happen here? Or does he appeal this all the way until he has no charge?
Sadly, I think it's going to be time served.
Really?
I think he's going to get time served, because part of what ends up happening, and I know that comes into consideration when a judge is thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's looking more and more that the prosecution kind of overreached. So it's not even necessarily that there aren't things to be looked at. And you could make the argument that, like, okay, they missed on the sex trafficking, but the minute you brought those RICO charges in, which RICO is hard to prove, which is why they don't do it often, but when it's there, they go for broke. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think that sort of put a bad taste in the mouth of the jury, because part of it too, I did see this, which was crazy, is that you had jurors that clearly were not paying attention at first, because then they need redefinitions being issued out and things like that. And despite, I listened to a lot of the testimony and stuff like that. I had to stop covering it on my channel because I was just like, I can't do this. This is too much. Yeah. I think that was the issue, is that they just went, we're gonna fully nail this dude. And I think part of the one thing I was worried about. Yeah, I was really worried that we were going to end up in, say, like a Cosby situation of the prosecution doing too much.
Yeah. And
ultimately you end up screwing this over. Right. The same thing happened technically with the OJ case.
100%.
If those cops had not been planting evidence or screwing up like chain of custody and all the other stuff that was involved in it, we gonna show this black bastard. If you would just run your race and just done the case how it needed to be done top to bottom, he would have been put in jail immediately for that. Whether or not, because obviously there's all the, was it actually his son? He was coming for his son. There's a lot of theories as to what really ultimately happened, but that was an overstep. And I think the same thing happened in Cosby, because that was a double jeopardy then situation where they said you can't do that again. The judge was like, release him right now. What are you doing? So like now it's the kind of the same thing here. So what I'm curious about is, I think he'll probably get off time served. I am curious how many of these civil lawsuits now go forward and how much success we actually see out of them, or if they start getting thrown out by the because it doesn't help that there were a few of them already that were sketched that were like drawing in Jay-Z or drawing in Drewski, that it was like, this timeline doesn't make logical sense. So then it just feels like, oh my God, this was a giant circus. But it sucks. It was clear. Yeah. As the arrest went down, you would look at previous videos of people being like, I don't, which means that there's smoke there. There is fire. There is definitely a fire going on, but they were so hell bent on being like, bro, he set off the blaze that burned all of Los Angeles. It was like a 2-house 5-alarm fire, and yet you tried to pretend like it was the whole of the county, and now all of a sudden they're like, he did not burn the county.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. So like that's the thing that I think is rough, is that we got presented enough that at the least, in my opinion, the sex trafficking stuff should have stuck to. And then I just think the RICO was just, again, that was an overreach, and you may have just polluted the mindset there.
I think it's crazy that the defense called no witnesses, just cross-examined the prosecutor's witnesses. Diddy never took the stand, and they got him off on all the serious charges. That's insane to me.
You saw
that the strategy, and it worked. And a lot of people said that. I watched a lot of post-trial analysis from lawyers and prosecutors on numerous shows, and they were all just like, the prosecution just blew this one. They had it, and they just overreached in certain moments, and they blew the presentation of stuff. And in the end, I mean, and look, they had the video, they had all this stuff, and they still couldn't nail him on this. It's mind-blowing.
Because I was worried. I was worried beforehand when we were still gearing up to the trial and the stories were coming on. I was covering this a decent amount of like the prosecution wrongfully raiding his cell and talks about how they got a hold of some client lawyer, like privileged information, things like that. And like, those are all things that ultimately end up sort of in the record of how this is going. And you just have to understand what's like, that's what kills me about it, is that idea. Now, mind you, I'm not surprised that they didn't put Diddy on the stand. You really don't want to put your client on the stand unless it's absolutely necessary.
You can help it,
because they will probably end up snitching on themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I just,
Trump didn't take a stand on his, even though he did get convicted, he didn't take a stand on his stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think the part that made me the most disappointed is the people that is like, see, I told you, leave him alone, blah blah blah, and then ignorant motherfuckers outside with baby oil, just and then one woman twerking and they squirting baby oil on her. I'm like, oh my God.
Talk to me about your community, bro. Like, what is that? What I mean, like, dude, who was it? Hughley, DL Hughley called them out on TMZ and said it was ridiculous to do this, man. What did you think about that?
I think what it is that the greatest mirror held up to society. We say that art is holding up a mirror to society. The greatest mirror ever held up to society, especially Black culture, is the Boondocks. This was
Oh God, yes.
This was all broken down on the Boondocks with the trial of R. Kelly. And then all of a sudden people are dancing and Huey being like, every black person that the system arrests is not Nelson Mandela, and stop all the goddamn dancing and act like you got some sense. And yet the exact same thing happened. So I'll put it to you this way, as far as what it is white community, I think it's the same thing that's true with any community. That's
a very good point.
There are good, mid, and bad people in every single community. That's just how that works, and for any number of reasons. And unfortunately, the people that were at the forefront of the not guilty verdicts on the bigger charges were spraying baby oil outside of the thing and twerking about it. Yeah, any other self-respecting like black person, knowing how serious this is and how none of this is a game, did not find that cute or funny. They were like, "Bro, what? Are you serious?" So my
video. What he did to Cassie, for God's sake.
But well, dude, remember we talked about this. The opening line for the defense is, when this is all said and done, you might go, Diddy is an asshole. Diddy is an abusive partner, but you will not walk away saying he is a crime lord like the likes of the Godfather. That was their defense, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's your opening defense?" And then I thought about it, and then I watched the case play out. I was like, oh my God, that was brilliant. Oh, we are so fucked. But
that's why he didn't get bail, because they led with that. Right. So it did kind of bite him a little bit. But go ahead.
Right. Sorry. But I look, if ultimately what that means is that he got to spend another, it's July, it's October is the thing, another 3 months in, and then he either gets time served or whatever his sentence is and stuff like that. I'm sure he would rather that than, he got found guilty on everything, and so they had to use that defense. And
it ain't like anybody gonna try to rape Diddy either, or try to recruit him into a gang. It said they reported in the news that Diddy got a standing ovation from all the other prisoners when he came back after the verdict was announced. So it's like he is a celebrity even in the prison. So he, like you said, if he's got to serve 3 or 4 months, it's gonna suck that he can't be with his family and in the comfort of his home. But it ain't going to be like he's serving a hard time knocking rocks on the side of a road, for God's sakes. It's going to be that kind of thing. So by the end, you're right, he might walk out scot-free. But what does that say, though, about this whole thing at the end of the day? Is this yet another example of how a wealthy person, if they get the right attorney, can find themselves, regardless of color, can find themselves getting out of these much more serious situations because they can afford the right attorneys? Do you think
that's Trump with the Epstein Files?
Yeah. Right, which we're going to segue into in just a second. But it just seems like this becoming a really distinct and very, very noticeable pattern in ways that maybe it hasn't before, because there's clearly people who want to convict these people for these most heinous crimes, but they seem to be unable to defeat most of these defense attorneys that have a lot of money and resources. Karen Reed, a lot of people think she's still guilty for what happened. I don't, but a lot of people do think she's guilty. She got a high-powered LA attorney who got her off on 2 separate cases, and now they can't convict her or try her anymore. It's done.
Yeah, look, I actually mentioned I did a short Squid Game season 3 review. Nice. I won't spoil anything other than just it's a very light spoiling, but it's about what we're talking about. The VIPs, when it's all said and done, do not get any sort of comeuppance. And I had mentioned in my review how part of me kind of hated that ending, but at the same time, I hate it because there's a part of me that still wants to believe that when people do bad things, they see justice. Everybody. But the truth of the matter is, and that being at the end of the series, is kind of accurate. When you have that much money or that much power, it's pretty rare that happens. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons, without seeing Superman, but just knowing the relationship between Lex and Superman, the reason why Lex hates him so much is he is the only person that he does not have power to control.
Yes.
He cannot, Superman, both with his morals and his physical power, cannot be controlled by Lex. So Lex is constantly trying to control him, kill him, all that, because no, I am him. How dare you? Yeah. That is why that keeps happening. I reread All-Star Superman in anticipation of the movie because I know that it supposedly like had a decent amount of draw, and that's one of the whole things is Superman comes to him and goes, "Look, man, you done said multiple times that you could save the world. I'm about to die. So if you're serious about that, Lex, you should really do it." Lex spits in his face, and then at the end, when Lex now has Superman's power, Superman's on death's door, all that kind of stuff, he's like, "Bro, you could have been him, but you instead would rather be a wannabe dictator, and as long as I breathe, which is like 10 more minutes, I'm not gonna let you do this." And then he handles it. So that's the thing. When you get to that much, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So,
and sadly, you make enough connections with the other corrupt and powerful people so that you never have to pay the price for it if you maintain those relationships, because you never know how long the tentacles are of these rich people and their ability to game the system. And it's a perfect segue into the Epstein Files, which you mentioned. Now, apparently, ladies and gentlemen, there has never been a list. There are no photos and videos of any note. This investigation is over, and Epstein killed himself. And the 1 minute missing video is just what they do every night. There's a minute missing every night because they're changing over the tapes. This is what they want us to believe now, after years of banging the drum about the Jeffrey Epstein list and all of that, the accusations that Trump was possibly in these videos and photos. Michael Wolff on the Daily Beast talking about it almost every week, how he has seen photos, he has been shown videos of Trump and all this kind of stuff, and other people. And now the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ say that there's nothing to talk about anymore. It's done. It's over. After promising that they were going to release all this information, and now apparently the investigation is over and sealed. And stop asking me about it, which Trump said today. Can we stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein now? And it's like that was nuts. You know what?
Tell
me you're guilty without telling me you're guilty. Go ahead, yes.
Bro. 1,000%. Wait. Are you seriously? Are you really asking about him again? Did we not say there's no files? There never were files. There were no files. Why are you asking about Epstein files? That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. We're out here. This is what's effed up, bro.
Yeah.
This is Black Bush, the Chappelle sketch all over again. Oil. Who said anything about oil? Bitch, you cook it up. Like, or to the fact to be like, why are you still talking about the war? What's going on? Did you know that gay people are getting married, folks? Like that, like it's that same, don't look over here. Look at the shiny object I'm waving around in front of you. Look over here. Look over here. Why aren't you looking over here? Stop looking at this. Don't look over here. That is a classic playbook that he does, and he has done the entirety of his career, but specifically in his political career. And that's where we're at. And so here is the thing. I don't think, could be wrong, I don't think there are any MAGA people that watch this show. Maybe there are.
Maybe.
Yes. If this is something that you have said over and over again about how protecting children is important and protecting women is important, and that up to this point believed more than without a shadow of a doubt that this whole ring was happening, that this was all happening.
Yeah.
This would be the moment to not let your foot off the gas and go, no, I don't accept that. This would be the moment to say, put up or shut up. I don't believe you. Because again, why up until Elon straight up says he's on the tapes, that it was all like, no, we gotta know, and we're going in it and we're doing it. And Bondi was saying it's on my desk for me to go through right now. This list.
I have the Epstein list on my desk.
On my desk.
Now she's claiming I meant the files, the papers. Now she's trying to claim that it was just about the files or the papers. Lies.
This is the time to prove that you were not in a cult and hold your leader accountable, because that is why people will say, no, you were in a cult, because you have got somebody who has constantly told you it's a thing, and now they want to straight up. Never mind. I wouldn't take that as an answer.
I agree with you 100%, Winston. I wouldn't take it as an answer either. And there are the right-wing grifters are already online with their fabricating a new narrative, saying like, I believe them. Let's move on from Epstein. It's done. It's closed. Why are we still talking about it? We spent years on it. So they are essentially like parrots echoing what the company line is in order to support their grift and keep making money off of this. So there is no principles behind any of this for some of them at all. Now, some of the people are pushing back. Some of the MAGA talking heads. Alex Jones is crying in his car.
Wait, what?
Have you seen that video? Oh, crying in his car about it all.
Is it on Twitter? I'm gonna look that up right now.
It's so fun. Maybe I'll play it because it's not on any kind of saved thing. And Roseanne Barr called him out, said people still care about what's going on to these children. What is the truth here? And then you've seen some of the other lower level MAGA fans online saying, what have they been? Oh, that if Biden, if Trump was on these, don't you think Biden would have released it to help him win the election? And that's the mindset of the MAGAs. Like, I will use anything to win. Why didn't they use that to win? And so it kind of takes it. Oh, you want to put it? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Oh,
coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just you cannot see it any other way.
Yeah, he's accusing the Trump of being
in the office. I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. It's because I have integrity. And
here it comes. Winston.
I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good.
Where?
And then for them to do something like this tears my guts out. And the left, they're all complicit. They're openly promoting pedophilia. We know they're pure evil. And they'll think it's all funny. Oh, look, Alex is sad. MAGA's tearing itself apart. Your globalist masters literally want you to eat bugs and live in a 5G 200 square foot coffin apartment. Look at the left. Look at them all posing with their laser shots, looking like dead zombies. I mean, come on, you guys are sick. And so you shouldn't look at those of us that have a soul still and have integrity.
Oh,
you don't have of this and celebrate, you dumb pieces of fucking shit. You're going against your own self-preservation, serving this evil globalist system in BlackRock and the New World Order and Hakeem Jeffries and all the rest of it. So I'm just processing this right now. I don't know on what planet Trump is doing all this good stuff in the real world and still being demonized by the corporate media and constant lies like, oh, there was no weather alert for flash floods in Texas by the National Weather Service. There was the day before and over 500 times. It's just constant lies. I need to defend Trump. He's being lied about. And then this type of shit happens. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just, it's beyond insane. You couldn't try to hurt yourself worse. You couldn't try to discredit the FBI worse than what they've done. Pam Bondi, all of it. All those videos were saying, yeah, she's seen the videos. It's all coming out. And then now it doesn't exist. I mean, what?
I mean, far be it for me to agree with Alex Jones.
That's the problem.
Damn it.
Unfortunately, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah. Let's take that down.
Breathe, baby. Breathe, Alex. Breathe.
I mean, seriously. And first of all, don't call anybody a piece of shit when you lied about the Sandy Hook kids getting killed in that gun and then got convicted for it. And then don't even have the fucking shriveled up Ozempic balls to pay them to pay them the money that they're owed. You sack of shit. So, I mean, I think it's funny for him to come off and cry about it. It's nonsense. Utter nonsense, dude. For God's sake. Anyway.
Here was the thing. I think I would take people a little more seriously if people would actually call balls and strikes and stop just trying to win.
Yes.
That's ultimately the problem. People are not actually being objective. It's all about my team winning, period. And MAGA is the worst about it, but I could make that argument that everybody has the ability to do that from time to time. Like one of the things that I find really interesting, last year, I want to say there was like a poll, maybe it was 2 years ago, of like, what is the biggest fast food restaurant to Gen Z, like the number one restaurant? By like 85%, bro, it was Chick-fil-A. And Gen Z is one of the biggest, obviously fighting for LGBTQ rights. So if you really standing on business of I don't do that whatsoever, how is it 85% Or like, yeah, I rock with that sandwich though.
Give me that gay hating chicken. Give me that gay hating chicken. I got it.
So I just need people to. I think what makes me sad is I think in my gut, in my heart, I always felt that everybody was a decent amount intelligent, or at least that there was like a base level, and there was a base level of good. And every day, and now I understand when I was warned as a kid, no, you're gonna get older, you're gonna get cynical. Just wait and see. You're gonna get cynical. And every day I start going, oh my God, people are way dumber than I thought. Oh my God, people are more immoral than I thought. Oh my God, every single day. So
listen, I'm older than you, that. And so your idealistic takes, I remember those days. and I love it. I love that it's still possible. But yes, you will get older. Now, it doesn't mean you have to become embittered at the world, but you become more aware of how much bullshit is fabricated out there, how much people put on a face, how many lies are going on, and how many incongruent thought patterns people have. Like, I'm gonna stand for LGBTQ plus community, but I'm also gonna eat at Chick-fil-A. Like, there's that kind of a goalpost switching when it's convenient.
Because I'll put it to you this way, Rocha. Because I can admit myself, and this is me standing on business.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, because I grew up in the South, I still do eat at Chick-fil-A, but the way that I try and counterbalance that is I'll either will donate to the Trevor Project an equal or more amount, or I will go to a gay establishment. Like where I play dodgeball is a gay-owned bar. If I was like, oh, damn, man, I just bought an $8 sandwich. Yo, let me get $40 worth of shots for everybody standing around this bar right now. Trying to counterbalance it one way or the other, because the truth is, everything a little bit evil, but I'm saying if you're going to stand on business, stand on business. That's the whole thing whatsoever. So I will openly admit that, but then I try to do something to offset it at least a little bit. Some people still like, I don't fuck with that dude. That's not good enough. And I'll take that L if I got to take that L. But at least for me, that's what I attempt to do to try and counterbalance stuff.
My concern is that you're paying $50 for a chicken sandwich. That's my concern.
$8, bro.
$8 plus the $40 you're doing to make up for it. So you're paying $50.
I mean, okay, well, yes, if you do that math, that technically is $50.
Yeah, goddamn good sandwich, man.
That's actually really funny now that I think about it. I didn't even think about it like that. I did not even think about it. I thought about the other way. I was like, as it was a donation to the gay community with a side of an $8 sandwich.
I mean, I don't know if it's 50, but it's good. It's just like, no, it's true. It's just like a credit card. You're like, oh, I'm going to buy all this stuff because it's discounted. Are you going to be able to pay for it by the end of the month? Because it's not going to be discounted once the interest hits for the money you've just spent. So these are the games you got to figure out financially. But anyway, it's a good point, and we'll see what happens with this whole thing. But nothing surprises me anymore, man. And the fact that he tried to use Texas as a cover. You're asking about Epstein when these children have died in Texas. It's like, son, you are the last person to be talking about sympathy or empathy for anything or anybody. And to use the death of these, which I think is up to 160 now, something like that, or well over 100 people, to use that as a cover. And I'm cynical enough from what I've seen from MAGA over the last 10 years to believe that they waited for something this bad before they decided to bury the Epstein stuff, so they could use it as cover and say, how can you ask me about this when there's been such a tragedy going on? I think they did that way, and it makes me sick to my stomach if that's true.
I absolutely, because they do that. Like you've seen Lucky Number 11. It's the Kansas City people. Yeah, you look over here, so I can pick your pocket over here. It's that exact same scenario. It also buried the big beautiful bill. We should be all up his ass about that. I'm not saying we shouldn't worry about what happened in Texas, but that is the worst piece of legislation. Like the number of people that are about to lose their health care is insane. Yes. And yet we're hitting them with Epstein and looking at the tech. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And then, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's get into some questions, Winston, because I know we got to get going here. And thank you to everyone who has sent in stuff. We got 11 of these so far. Dennis Hoffman says, can't join live, but big fan, fellas. Rocha, you got me pumped for soups. Heard terrific is terrific. Yes, I said that in my review. Eddie Gathegi is, to me, he almost steals the movie. He is so good in the movie. Awesome. Yes, I'm telling you. I've made it a point in all of my conversations that I put out and videos about Superman to highlight him because he steals the movie for me. He is fantastic in the film. Aside from the main three actors, he is the standout for sure. So, yeah.
I mean, especially from the standpoint of, you know, my boy got done dirty previously, if I remember, because wasn't he Darwin?
Oh, yeah, I think
he got
so.
done hella dirty with literally the man whose superpowers are, I can't die because like during World War Hulk,
yeah,
the minute he went to go try and fight Hulk, his powers determined the best self-defense, the best preservation was to teleport him to the opposite end of the planet. His body said, nope. Like literally did the blackest thing ever and said, nope, and turned around and walked away. And yet somehow in this case, nah, he just gonna blow up. That's how that goes.
No, he has a lot to do in the movie. Which is why I was also a little, you know, I said this in one of my last comments about the movie that I felt like it was frustrating that we hadn't seen a lot of footage with him in the trailers because he is a big part of the movie. So I'm surprised we didn't see a lot more, but maybe they just wanted to hide what he was doing in the film because it's a lot of essential stuff in the film. Jorge Iniestra says, do we really want another Drake album with sneak disses, having no real friends / failed relationships, mob boss talking even though he is suing? I'm done, to be honest. He's doubling down on his red pill pivot and his stands are MAGA hip hop. That's true. He showed up to Morgan Wallen's concert recently and played on stage with Morgan Wallen. So is this him?
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He came out on the Videotron from the back with Morgan Wallen. They came out and were singing a song together. So
Jesus Christ, bro.
Yeah. This may be where he's going now, where look, and this is the standard thing. As soon as when you're hanging out with the left, as soon as they turn on you, these artists immediately run and become part of the right. You're seeing that today. I called out Michelle Tafoya for her bullshit. Former NFL sideline reporter posted a letter that she supposedly got from a stewardess a couple of days ago. And somebody else found that she had posted the same letter and the same post 2 years ago, the exact same handwriting, the exact same wording. And so it's just, you see that this is all a grift. They were just mad they lost attention on one side and they ran to the other side to get attention. So anyway, Fred Tastic 14 says Superman steps on some Cheetos and Fox cries. Okay. What that means, but okay.
Well, Superman steps on some Cheetos and Fox cries. I don't know if I get it.
Yeah,
sorry, Fantastic. I apologize. I don't think I understand.
James says, just a point to note, BBS is the highest grossing film to feature the Superman character and is sub $700 million. Right, but that's, how can I say this? This is the beginning of a universe, and this is your number one character. Superman is globally known. And this is we just had Deadpool and Wolverine make $1 billion fucking dollars. You tell me Superman can't make $1 billion, but like a lower hero like Daredevil, Deadpool and Wolverine are going to make $1 billion. Come on now.
But you got to remember that was also pinned off of nostalgia because you got to remember that's 20 plus years of saying goodbye to the Fox universe as a whole. Hugh Jackman, who was retired, coming out of retirement for doing that, the third in a trilogy, because the same way that like I think No Way Home is a fantastic movie. It made $2 billion because you got all the Spider-Mans from 25 years. You put them all in a movie together. You brought their villains back. And, like, you know what I'm saying? So I would hope that it can do it, but I will give it at least a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because what individual origin superhero movie since the pandemic has cleared $1 billion? None. No origin. It was all wrapping some shit up. It was all wrapping it up. Because even I think Top Gun Maverick is fantastic. That's also a sequel. Avatar is a sequel.
100%. Yeah.
The only $1 billion movies that I know that were straight out the gate, Barbie.
Yes.
I'll count Oppenheimer because it was like 960. It was close enough that I'll give it to it. Super Mario, and then Minecraft. I'll also give it to it. I don't think it ever hit it, but I think it got to like 925 as well, something like that.
Right.
Those are, but again, IP, and then one original. But that is based off
DC's IP.
No. I understand that too. But I'm saying like there's something you're kind of building. So Superman should be up there. It should be able to do it. But we'll see. It doesn't help. Go ahead.
Sorry, Winston. It doesn't help.
Well, it doesn't help. what, Minecraft, Mario, Oppenheimer. You didn't also have Megan going, they're trying to feed you the woke immigrant agenda. Like, if it's supposed to be 4 quadrants, that means that you need everybody. Unfortunately, you need both sides of the political spectrum to go, that was a good ass movie. It's easy to do that with Top Gun because it's just like, plane go fast. Ooh, the Russians evil. Oh, are they gonna become friends? Like, you can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
everybody loves Tom. That's a fair point. Although his Mission Impossible didn't do that, so that's a good point. Let's see here. Jorge Estrada said, no more round 2s. Kendrick's Super Bowl promo. No more rounds 2.
Said no more round 2s.
Yeah, that's true. I'm Two Fly Cam says, have you both seen the Jeremy Johns drama? His Superman review had people on Twitter find his blackface videos. Will Geeks do a live review of Super? I have not seen. I wish people would leave Jeremy alone, man. I mean, he did that years ago. He's apologized for it over and over and over again, but people still bring that stuff up to try to put it in. And look, blackface is terrible. I don't know what possesses people to do it. I've never even thought to do something like that. But there are just certain people who think it's funny or think it's innocent fun. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. So on one hand, I understand why people want to go after him, but Winston, on the other hand, it's like he apologized for it. It was years ago. Like, as you said earlier, do we not move on with grace when someone apologizes?
If this is somebody that continues to if he would step across the line, he's a habitual line stepper. If he's a habitual line stepper,
yes,
then you're right. Then go at him. But if like, what did he say? Was he like, it was a bad movie for these reasons? Was he like, it's a bad movie because who wants to talk about immigrants and why is Mr. Terrific front and center? We don't need that black superhero.
That's fair.
Here's his blackface video. This is a pattern. But if he just says, I didn't think it was a good movie and gave legitimate reasons for not being a good movie, then what are we doing? I need people to, again, call balls and strikes. Stop trying to have your team win. Because that is where we get to such a disingenuous place. We cannot actually ever improve or move forward as a society. We always take steps backwards because people cannot be honest about what's going on.
I've had many interactions with Jeremy, worked with Jeremy at Collider. Never once any kind of offhand racist comment. Never. So I would be surprised if all of a sudden he's putting that on his movies or reviews rather. Zach Roberts sending Winston and his pops love from Dallas. There you go. Respect. Yeah. Shout out to your papa.
Appreciate it.
Cowboys fan Andrew said, hi there, guys. Hope you're good. Not to sidestep from your topics, but as a young disabled man with complex disabilities, it's Disability Pride Month, and I read a recent study that found that over 95% of disabled parts across TV are played by all able-bodied actors. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I saw that study as well. It's an interesting situation, Winston, because I mean, like, sometimes you have to go with that actor because that actor can sell the project, and that's unfortunately that's the Hollywood honest truth, right? And yes, you're taking the opportunity away from someone who may be able to sell the project, but Hollywood's not known for taking chances on situations like this. And there has been a pushback recently, Winston, of people who are like, we don't have to just cast all disabled body people for this disabled body. Like, we have to be getting back to the actors who can do it. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think it's always a tricky scenario. I think there should be a better push to get people of each individual community to represent themselves.
Sure.
I think that is very important. And I think depending on how you decide to depict certain things. So, like, for example, I think about how Sia got ripped a new one about doing her movie about autism, and it really just felt more like, you put able-bodied people in there, but the actual content when you saw it felt like it was making fun or taking shots at it, even though she supposedly was trying to help out. So I think a lot like that's where things get tricky, where I think you should do everything in your power to try and have the most accurate representation as possible. And then also just know that sometimes it isn't as possible, like it including like if, like, say there's a story about somebody who is in a wheelchair, but like the beginning of it or whatever, they are walking around all the time. You know what I mean? I think if we end up in a scenario where ultimately we do start to see more AI or type stuff involved in that, then you could potentially kind of make an adjustment for things like that. But sometimes that's because I think about first class. That's why you're going to get a McAvoy, because Charles didn't start off in a wheelchair. Charles started off walking around, and then a tragic accident happened, and then going forward. So that like makes, you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, totally.
But I hear you, and I'm thank you, A, for sharing, Cowboy fan, and B, I apologize that we're not there yet as a society. Unfortunately, that's something we got to always try and get a little bit better about.
Yeah, I agree with everything, Winston. I think nailed it completely, Winston, for sure. J_Mobile says, I always like Drake's music. He's talented, but make your songs and hush, Aubrey. Oof. Yeah. Miss me with the guns and street shit when we all see you're not like that. Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. I want to feel that way about him, Winston. But then again, when I found out about how hard MC Hammer rolled, that changed my mind on everything. Like people can tell you stories about Hammer. Like Hammer was no joke. Yes, everybody made fun of him back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. But like third base, those guys even said, they came out and said, like, once we found out how hard Hammer rolled, we stopped talking about Hammer because he is not someone to mess with. Man's from Oakland. He's got connections in Oakland. So I don't know if Drake's got any kind of crazy brothers up in Toronto and there's a whole like hard ass community there. I don't know. So
I'm sure at this point, and if not, he's got bodyguards. Like I'm sure he is. But
that's a good point.
Yeah. Still,
stop taking pictures.
Look, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a problem. Don't make your entire personality about how street you are. That's the difference. I don't have a problem with somebody every now and again, because the truth is, and I've talked about this, like someone was like, man, why you be up on, capes and you want to act one particular way, and then all of a sudden you're on like Blurs or you're on Spill the Tequila, and now you just want to act extra whatever. And I'm like, well, first of all, you may get to see me a few hours a week on the internet, but you don't actually know me. Yeah. And you don't know the full extent. You know as much as I put out there, including all Black people know this. I would argue most Latin people know this. And now white people are starting to understand what code switching is. Yeah. There's a time and a place for certain things. You know what I'm saying? And so like you said with MC Hammer said, yo, these women shaking their ass to my songs. Let me go ahead and just be like, Mr. Daddy Hammer. But you step to me, I am from Oakland, I will shoot you. You know what I'm saying? And so same thing. I may not be a gangbanger or nothing like that, but I don't play when it comes to like my family and friends. If you say or do the wrong thing, I will f you up. Like, what are we talking about? So it just depends. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't watched some stories about Hammer, I highly recommend you all roll and find some stuff on YouTube and on TikTok. It is jarring. It is jaw-dropping.
No joke. It is no joke.
Let's see. Cowboys fan is back again saying, hey guys, while we are talking news, I'm done with the big mainstream media, so I'm going to vetted media outlets myself personally only now. Understood? A lot of people feel that they are, especially because the legacy media is now bending the knee to Trump so hard that you have to question the validity and veracity of the things that they're saying now. So we're seeing more and more people popping up on outlets or on platforms like this. Where people are trusting them to deliver a little more of the unbiased news.
I'm a massive fan of Philip DeFranco. I actually listen to him. Right, that's where I get my 20 to 30 minutes of news a day. And if there's something I need to follow up on, then I'll follow up myself. But that's both to protect my mindset. But he's also proven to be trustworthy to deliver it exactly like it is, give his opinion, and then leave it up to the audience to discuss. And that is what we need more of. So
yeah. Agreed, brother. Doug Developer says, who beats who in Super Bowl 60?
Is that what's up? Are we up to 60?
Yeah, 59 was last year.
Damn. No idea, because I honestly need to see what these teams look like. I hate looking at give me at least week. Like I'll give you a prediction once we get through preseason, but if you want my real prediction, give me about 3 to 4 weeks into the season to let the rust knock off, to really see who people, because think about the Saints. I tried to warn everybody, the Saints, not this past year, but I think the year before, where they went 2-0, and I'm like, the Saints are not as good as you think they are. I promise you. And then all of a sudden the wheels came off. You need just a little bit of time to make an accurate prediction. If I had to put a gun to my head now, I think it's probably the Bills and shit, Rocha, you're gonna be stunned by this, bro. And the Commanders.
No way.
I think the Bills Commanders in the Super Bowl. I think the Commanders end up with a favorable matchup in the playoffs, and they do the unthinkable, and you made some upgrades. I think it might be your time. I don't think you'll win per se. I think Josh Allen is on a tear. I think he's still upset about Sinners, but I think you might be able to get over the hump. I don't even think that the Eagles would necessarily lose to Washington, but I think the NFC is so stacked that an upset could come from somewhere. You know what I mean? And so that's my blank prediction right now.
I'll give you two teams to watch this on each conference. I think you got to watch the Raiders. Pete Carroll is a miracle worker. And I think you got to watch the Bears. Caleb Williams got screwed over last year. And I think and I like the moves they made in the offseason. So watch those two teams. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but certainly watch them this year. I think they're going to surprise some people for sure. I think it's going to be Packers and Bills. That'll be the Super Bowl. And Bills probably win.
Packers. Interesting.
Yeah, Jordan Love. I got a feeling about Jordan Love.
He's a little too hot cold for me right now. And that's the one thing that's wild about picking the Commanders is it's rookie year, because look at CJ Stroud was going off and then didn't have as good of a sophomore year. But yeah.
All right. Samo says, thoughts on the right wing meltdown over Superman? We talked about it earlier, Sam. I don't know if we can add much more to that, but thank you very much. J_mobile says, it feels like many artists put up with Drake because he's talented, but now that he's talking, they're like, calm down, dude. We never really liked you.
It's you burned a lot of bridges over time, because the funny thing is none of them necessarily were calling it out off rip. You had a few little things with like the Pusha T beef and the Meek Mill beef. Meek Mill was way out of his weight class on that one. But eventually, especially if your entire career is based off of relationships, the stuff catches up with you.
Yeah, exactly. Logan Vaughn says, a month ago, my MAGA parents said that, quote, Ms. Rachel has gotten too political, and to me, she's the modern Mr. Rogers. I think it's wild to take issue with saying, let's stop killing kids, but that's how far gone MAGA is.
It was insane to me. That's my point. Call balls and strikes. In what way did she say? She didn't say anything like, hey, we should only protect white and Jewish kids and like whatever. She just said kids shouldn't die. As a teacher for children, she said we should not be killing kids. That is the most unpolitical statement, and yet people are so obsessed about their team winning. You are not calling a fair game. That is nonsense. I just think people in MAGA know deep down that they're on the wrong side, and so when people call them out, what's up? No, keep talking. I have something I want to show you. I think people I think that's what I'm saying. I think MAGA people know they're on the wrong side secretly deep down, like at 3 a.m. when they're by themselves. They know they're on the evil side of things. So when anyone makes a comment in any platform that comes close to sounding like liberal or progressive, they immediately jump on it to try to destroy it. Yep. And that shows a insecurity in your intelligence and a loss of confidence in your point of view that you need to act like this when that happens. And so, of all people, you're going to come from Ms. Rachel. It's so ridiculous. Well, so check this out real quick. This is specifically more about ICE and whatnot. And for those that can't read it, I'll read it out loud. But this was perfectly said. If you're using undocumented immigrants' tax records to find and kidnap them, then this was never about them paying taxes. If you're showing up at their place of employment, then this was never about them not working. If you're showing up at courthouses, then this was never about them doing it the right way. If you are kidnapping women and children, then this was never about criminals. If you're refusing to give them due process, then this was never about the Constitution. If you're building concentration camps in Florida to keep them here in cages, then this was never about the border. If you're spending billions to do this, then this was never about the economy. And if you're doing all of this in the name of a 34-time convicted felon, then this was never about following the law. Yeah. And that is where I get frustrated with MAGA, is all of the excuses that were brought up about this. And this is the same argument we've used with women's rights as far as like body autonomy and whatnot. If you're really truly pro-life, why are you cutting programs to support children, especially poor children, when they're brought into this world, and that mother that was, it doesn't even have to be assaulted, but that single mother, whatever, cannot afford to raise this child. But she's like, oh, well, it sucks to suck. We're getting rid of Medicare and SNAP. Like you are lying out of your ass. And this is always about racism and control. Oh, 100%. Yes. But that's like, you get exhausted because
people called me out for years in this space. So, oh, Rocha's always bringing up race. He's always bringing up race. I grew up with that. Like, that is what I experienced from a very young age with immigrant parents in this country. White people making fun of their accent, making fun of how they handle things, trying to get things over on them, thinking they're stupid because they don't speak English perfectly. I dealt with all of that growing up, okay? And numerous examples of it in my life in various formats, seeing how it plays out. So when all this starts to happen and people are going crazy about it and clutching their pearls, I go, this is exactly where they've been going the whole time. So I'd like to be upset about it as hard as I was 20 years ago, but I always knew this was coming at some point. And here it is. Alligator Alcatraz is absolutely a fucking concentration camp. I don't care what they try to paint it as. It is absolutely that. And the fact that it flooded, and if people had actually been there, a lot of those immigrants would have died in those conditions. And that is the harsh truth, is that people are going to die. And the fact that they're selling merchandise speaks to a very darkness in this. It's a devil darkness, a demon darkness in your soul. It's from hell. That is from hell. To sell merchandise that is going to take advantage of watching these human beings. When you go to church on Sunday, you say you care about everybody on earth, all of God's creatures. And simply because they crossed an imaginary line in the sand and they're the color brown, you're going to celebrate them dying. It will not fix your life. And this is what it always comes to. It's like, oh, they're in the way of everything. They're taking our jobs, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. You fucked up your own life, and killing these people are not going to fix your life in any way, shape, or form, or kicking them out. You're still going to be the loser. You're still going to be the person with no money. You're still going to be a broken marriage. You're still going to be the person suffering in pain because you don't want to deal with the inner shit because you think the outer shit is the reason why you're unhappy. And that's what eventually is going to blow up in their face with all of this stuff.
Speak, bro. Speak on it. I'm sure you heard about the dude that was, I guess, outside the site where they're building it, and it bought some merch and was laughing by a fence by an alligator. And I don't know if he died, but I think they got his arm. Like, he's out here looking like Chubbs now. So like from Happy Gilmore, bro. So hey, F around and find out.
It's true. So true. Sorry, we're going long, Winston.
All good. My fault.
Okay. No, it's okay. Let's see. C Black says Thunderbolts will have the highest RT score for a comic movie in 2025. I think that movie will be appreciated after Doomsday. Yeah, very possible. Very possible. Yeah. Chris Corcoran says, I feel like centrist Democrats put more energy against Zohran Mamdani than toward the BBB. The far right is the enemy, but we need better opposition. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I haven't done enough research on this guy, and there are videos of him making fun of stuff back when he was younger. But it seems like whenever any progressive wins, the establishment, the Democrats try to destroy them, like they did with Bernie, like they would love to have done with AOC, but she got too big for them to destroy. And they're trying to stop Mamdani now because they think they're going to lose if the party goes in this direction. Meanwhile, you've seen the right go extreme MAGA and win. So it's just like an interesting situation now.
It's also just the standpoint of if we're calling a spade, they're less worried about losing. They're more worried about them individually losing. I have said this before, and people can call me out about it if they want to. I'm getting to the point where I'm being a little bit ageist, honestly, because I am seeing too many folks that are well beyond retirement age, things like that.
Oh, I agree.
Vice gripping jobs, responsibility, power, land, all of this stuff from the generation whose time it is to take over. The fact that over 60% of, like, I'll pull the number again so I can check, but over 60% of Congress is like over the age of 60 something. That's insane. That is, you were not long for this earth. If just unless you have figured out eternal life, you are not long for this earth. That you should be letting the people who are now supposed to inherit the earth be the ones to make decisions for how they want the world to be. That is why we keep running into goddamn trouble.
Yeah. Great points, Winston. 100% correct. I'm not doing it. I need Jon Stewart on the big screen. # lanterns. I
need Jon Stewart on the big screen. I would love to see Jon Stewart on the big screen. Also, Jesus Christ on that name. I was like,
last time. He got me last.
He got you last time.
Eric Slavey says, to me with news today, I try to watch or read things from each side like a Young Turks and Daily Wire and then form my own thoughts from each side. Well, God love you having the strength to watch Daily Wire. I can't watch Ben Shapiro for shit, man. I mean, I really can't. It's so obvious how he's manipulating narratives, and TYT as well. Like the TYT is kind of turned kind of right. Although Anna Kasparian now battling with on that show she's on, battling some of these right wingers. I think she's really acquitted herself well in those battles, because I liked her for a long time, but when they veered kind of right after Trump won, it was a little weird, you know. So anyway, yeah.
So just I'll do the House in a second, but yeah, I was spot on with the Senate. 66 senators are of the age 60 or higher.
Yeah,
that's insane. You do not make up 66% of the population.
Yeah,
and yet you somehow make up 66% of the people that help run the fucking. And that's just the Senate. I didn't even get to the House yet.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. You got to start cleaning house with these old people. You really do. And you've made enough. If you still need Congress money, then you haven't invested wisely, and it's not our responsibility to keep you in that position anymore. Wayne Edwards says, Rocha, I agreed with you that Gunn was talking way too much. Yes. He should let the movie speak for itself. That said, Winston made a lot of sense explaining why Gunn did that. Great discussion, guys. Loving the back and forth. Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely, Wayne. Thank you for the message.
Absolutely. And it's good to have, different points of views. It's good to have a debate on these things. Eric Slobby says, what I think the biggest problem with politicians and politics in general is that they're all hypocritical and just in it for themselves and not into making things better for the people. Well, I think this is just like the police, where you go like, well, these people are bad, therefore all policemen are bad. And that's not always the case, right? And I think there are politicians who are absolutely selfish, in it for themselves, trying to line their pockets. But I do think there are people who are actually trying to make the world a better place in politics. And the problem is that the cynicism and cynicism of it all is encouraging people not to do it, who would like to do better and fix the world because of how the system is set up. And so I can't remember the representative out of Florida, the young black guy. He's fantastic. I think AOC, obviously. I think Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, I think they're out here trying to make some changes. We need more of those people and less of the people trying to line their pocket.
They just the problem is they just have to remain vocal. Because I agree with you that no individual group has 100% bad, 100% good, or in the middle. However, if you're allowing the bad part of that said group to be the mouthpiece, and you are not loud enough to push back, you can make the state. If 70% of cops are doing racist or corrupt things, and okay, there's a solid 30 that isn't, a majority of your organization is corrupt. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. If 66% of Congress is of the Senate is worried about nothing but old people being able to do old people things for as long as they possibly can, then we can make the argument that the Senate is corrupt because they are not looking out for all Americans. So that's the thing. I think it really depends on how many people are trying to make waves. Like the number of cops that I've known, or former cops, where they were like, I'm going to be the one to change the system, and they got in, they said, this is too corrupt, I can't do this, and they back out because of that. So
and it gets dangerous. It gets dangerous. Yeah.
Right.
Jay, it's not a movie. It's not a movie. J_mobile says, it feels like Drake is that cousin who grew up in the white neighborhood but now goes to the hood school. Difference being he started in his 30s. I don't know. Maybe.
And especially because you're not a kid anymore, there's a level of, like I said, there needs to be some self-confidence in just who you are.
Yeah. Good point, bud. Good point. KJ, hey, John, why are you being called negative just because you speak truth to power? It's the standard thing. It happens. You just get used to it after a while because everyone just wants to get along and go along. And if you're the one person who's calling people out, and look, Winston has done it as well. Kalinowski does it every once in a while. I mean, I think there is this perception that I'm the only one rattling cages, and there's a lot of people who rattle cages in our space. They just do it for different things. I just have more things that I need to rattle the cage about, which makes me stand out in that way. So whether I'm right or wrong, I mean, that's always up to people to decide. J_Mobile says, I feel Winston, though. I grew up in the hood, was always into games, comics, and nerdy shit, got along with everyone. Be genuine. People will rock with you. Winston, yes. Agree.
I agree. And I know that the campaign of It Gets Better was mainly for LGBTQ youth back a little while ago, but it applies to everybody. If you really are in that situation, obviously look for outlets and look for people to try and help get you over the hump, but it does get better, especially if you're true to yourself. I stand by that.
It's cool. It's a good point. I'm not going to say your name again. I can only change my name every 2 weeks. All right. Well, you chose this one. Live with it. Eric Slavey says, completely agree with you guys. That's one part of why I want term limits for senators / representatives, mainly though because they're out of touch with what their constituents want, and neither side wants that. Yeah, Winston, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, and I also think for Supreme Court justices, I think you can give them longer terms because there is the level of your judgment is supposed to get better the older you get, but I think the same thing can apply. There should have never been a reason that we waited for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to literally die, and then we ended up in a scenario where now the court is fully packed to one particular leaning. That is supposed to be the last bastion and a completely neutral scenario, and yet that has also gotten fully into politics. So yeah.
The last few decisions have been so far in Trump's favor that it's mind-blowing how all of a sudden it's 6-3. What happened? I'd like to find out. Tim says, which sports commissioner would make a good POTUS? Well, if you're asking people on the right, I think they would say Roger Goodell. But I think if you're asking for people on the left, I think Adam Silver's a possibility. What do you think there?
I mean, until I saw Adam Silver corruptly allow, didn't let Chris Paul go to the goddamn Lakers, but you were going to let Luka go to the Lakers, and then you're just going to secretly be like, oops, we screwed up. Let's just give him the #1 draft pick for Cooper. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Fire Nico. Fire Adam Silver too. Fuck that. I'm mad.
Easy. J_Mobile says, great show. As a black guy with a wife who's Cuban, got to show love for the black and brown connection. Respect. I never catch y'all live. So glad I did today. So are we.
Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And tell me, what does your wife make that you enjoy eating, bro? Because Cubans make some damn good food, dog.
Dude, do you watch The Ultimatum?
No. On the Netflix? No,
yeah.
I don't want.
So they have the regular one. They're not regular. The original show was all hetero couples, but they've done 2 seasons now. They just wrapped up the 2nd season of the queer edition, which is all lesbians.
Oh,
bro,
yes.
One of them, one of the black women broke up with her longtime girlfriend to go live with somebody else for a little bit, right? And so the other black woman, she was like, wait a minute, baby. Is that what she's like? Yeah, I made her oxtails. I told you could make her anything. You could have made her jerk chicken. You made her she could feed her oxtails. Like, I was like, hey, yo.
That's the violation. Oxtails. Yeah.
That was for me. That ain't fun on you.
All right, real quick ones. We got 3 more and we'll get out of here. Orange Chicken John says, John, you deserve the views on the Superman reaction. I don't like that comment from Christian trying to big dog you. It's what he does. Christian loves to do that shit.
That's part of why we love him. He's a New York asshole, and we give it back to him just as much. So
trust me, I'll slam his balls if he brings it up on Monday. Who does he think he is to be like, oh man, you're lucky I didn't put out a video? He is jealous seeing your star rise. What lame. No, that's not. He's helped me a lot. Like honestly, he's given me platforms. We've been in stuff, and honestly, we've had very honest conversations about situations where I felt he's pissed me off. We had a 90-minute conversation a year and a half ago before I retired from the Showdown because of how upset I was with how things were going. I ignored him for 2 weeks and it drove him insane. So we have a friendship. He just does the things that he does, and so I push back when I want to push back. So yeah. Okay. Doug says, had Merrick Garland did the Epstein investigation, he would have appointed a Republican counsel because of his bullshit desire to not look, quote, political. And that counsel would have fabricated an Epstein connection to Biden's sigh. I hate Garland so much. I think you're not alone. A lot of people kind of low-key blame him for what we're going through now because he didn't move quick enough to get Jack Smith at the beginning.
So. It wasn't flawless, but I miss Eric Holder.
Yes. I miss Eric.
Flawless, but I do miss Eric Holder.
Fred Tassin 314 is the last one. He says, I'm remembering the old saying, it's better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. People are dumber now, and this is my proof. Yeah. Fair point.
I need people to be honest. Say it again, call balls and strikes. But I also think it's okay for people to admit when they're wrong. I know that we've also made a space where that's not the case. And I'll be honest with you, had you actually been like, what about all the stuff he did in his tweets? And so that person that said it on my stream, that's where I again go back to the point of you are never going to get somebody to admit they're wrong and try and be better if you are constantly deciding that you are going to make their life hell forever. Either we want people to grow or we don't.
Yeah.
Do not feed me this bullshit about we're trying to make the world a better place. If you're like, there are exceptions. There are non-negotiables, for example. Like, I don't think there's ever anything Harvey Weinstein could ever do to ever be back in good graces ever. Fuck it. Like,
No,
it was too long and too much. There's nothing he can do. But again, I look at Michael Vick, served his time, is doing everything to make sure what he did does not happen again. There should be a level of grace of like, look at this person who grew and is trying to atone for horrible things. That is something that we need to lift people up that do that, and those that just double and triple down or never apologize or never do any of that, fuck them. That's the difference. That to me is ultimately the difference.
There you go. Beautifully said, Winston. I can't think of a better comment to end the show on than what you just said. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you madly. And thanks to everybody who joined us tonight for the Streamlabs Super Chats and the lively chat. We had well over 300 of you for a majority of the show. Still 250 right now hanging out with us as we wrap up. So thank you so much for hanging out with us live to have this show. More and more people are finding the show. So thank you for coming on. And please do your part. Retweet the show. Let people know about the show. Let people come and or let them know so they can come and hang out with us and have fun. This is more of the relaxed. We're hanging out in the barbershop having a conversation type of thing. So we want more people to come and hang out and kind of put down their walls and have fun conversations with us about crazy stuff. So and everything going on in the world. So, but Winston, hey, let people know where they can find you and what you got going on here coming up soon.
Absolutely. You can find me at the Swaggy Blur on all platforms. You will see in a few hours my out of the theater reaction for Superman. Tomorrow I will put out my non-spoiler review. When I get home, I'm going to record that and get that ready for you guys for tomorrow. I will also be, I was live on Monday. I will be live again tomorrow. Let's see, I got therapy at 5. So probably about 6 o'clock. About 6 o'clock, I will go. Yeah, right. I'll be live at 6 o'clock. I will go for a few hours as well. You will see me on Capes and Cows on Friday. Probably I will wait until next week for I did my Who's on Sam's Team. I'm going to give you a video about the Fantastic Four of what I actually think is going to go down leading into Doomsday, my 2 cents based off of some movie evidence, off some comic evidence. You'll get that. And I'm doing a big overhaul on my Patreon and membership stuff. I mentioned it on my stream yesterday. It will be live on Friday, but it will include all sorts of stuff, including watch-alongs. I don't know if you knew this, Rocha. I have seen every Mel Brooks movie except for Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
that on Capes and Cows, and people lost their minds. Like the way the Joker was like, you kill one little bit, everybody loses their mind. Like they literally went crazy. So that will be part of the tiers of being able to do that watch along for stuff with me. So a lot of awesome stuff coming. I appreciate each and everybody that was there yesterday. Hopefully, I'll see a lot of you there tomorrow. And
where the white women at? Exactly.
I the whole time I thought RB3 was just saying that. I did not realize that was from Blazing Saddles.
The best. The best. C Black says, Rocha, which movie wins July box office? I haven't seen Fantastic Four. I cannot make a guess until I see Fantastic Four. Let me get to the screening. When I see it, I will let you know what I think is going to happen in the box office. But I have much more hope for Superman than I did before I saw the movie. I have much more hope now for it. So as for me, you can
stands for, bro.
Was that?
That's what the S stands for, bro.
Oh, hey-oh. As for me, you can follow down below, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you're dropping all the content we're doing. Thanks to all the new subscribers that have come on to the channel over the last few days. Really appreciate it. Doing the overhaul on my channel and not the Patrons and membership just yet. I'll be launching that a little bit later, but certainly the overhaul on the John Rocha channel will be changing in the next few days. So thank you all so much for going on the journey. And hopefully we're going to the next level with what we're going to do next here on the channel. Follow me at The Rocha Says. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Be well. Go see Superman this weekend. Hot Mic coming up later on this week. Geek Buddies again. Maybe Jedi Way and more stuff going on here. So pay attention for it all here on the Outlaw Nation channel for now. And take care until then, when we see you next time for another live episode. I'll spill the tequila. Peace.